croisé que parfois il faut être un petit peu fou pour être maire.
Quand on appelle le maire, c'est toujours qu'on a quelque chose à lui demander.
On dort maire, on mange maire, on vit maire.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus. Now, with municipal elections looming in the spring of next year, we thought we'd turn our attention to France's mayoral system. There are 35,000 mayors across the country, the most high profile of whom is the mayor of Paris, whose headquarters is here at Hôtel de Ville. But such impressive surroundings are a far cry from the reality faced by many of France's mayors. And in recent years, there's been a sharp increase in the number of mayors who've been resigning. We're going to start by taking a look at some of the reasons why.
Flagy, a quiet village of 650 residents. It's early morning and the mayor is already on his toes.
Oui, Bastien.
Oui, je voulais vous dire, il y a des moutons sur la route de Machault-Moulin.
Je vais aller voir, ils sont en liberté, ils sont sur la route.
In small towns, being a mayor often requires wearing several hats.
Bon allez, on essaie de les pousser.
Today, his shepherd skills are in demand.
Il faudra que je nettoie mes chaussures quand même. Hein. Pousse-les vers nous.
In fact, he's constantly deployed on all fronts and says it's exhausting.
Si j'arrête, c'est aussi
If I'm quitting, it's also because of this permanent pressure. There comes a time when the stress becomes unbearable. We can deal with working 12-hour days, but at one point, it just becomes too much.
There's the stress, and for many mayors, there's also a feeling that they aren't getting enough support from the state. About 50% of France's mayors say they won't run for re-election in 2020.
We're at the end of the chain of command, in direct contact with the people we govern, and there's a lack of recognition from the state. It's quite unpleasant and quite frustrating.
The state wants to encourage citizens to get involved in local politics, but not everyone's convinced.
I've already served my town. It wasn't easy. At the time, I also had a day job. It was really hard.
When you're retired, you have more time to get involved. Obviously, if you have a job, you're only available after work. But that's time you want to spend with your family. At the same time, if all mayors are pensioners, it's a problem.
A planned reform aims to make it easier to serve as an elected official while holding a day job and to attract more candidates. François Desson has been the mayor of Ville-Serre, 700 residents, since 2014, and he intends to run again next year. Money isn't his primary motivation.
I'm not complaining, but well, clearly a salary of €1,024.80 for 60 hours of work can be a deterrent for younger people and for newer teams.
For the mayor of Plaisir, offering better salaries to elected officials in smaller towns is a no-brainer.
Today, who takes part in our town councils? Well, elected officials who are older, who don't have day jobs on the side, and who are able to, who have the time to get involved in politics. This is not what we want for France. We want young people to get involved.
But for the time being, running a small town will hardly make you wealthy. A monthly salary for a mayor starts at €661 for towns with less than 500 residents. And the most a local official can make is €5,640 for cities with a population of more than 100,000. The government is considering merging the first three salary ranges, meaning mayors responsible for less than 3,500 residents would all make up to €1,672. But only the smallest towns would receive extra state funding. The others would have to tap into their own budgets to fund the pay rise, an unthinkable option for this mayor.
In a small town budget, where do you find the extra €20,000? How do you make it happen? It's impossible.
Following the yellow vest crisis last spring, Emmanuel Macron held a debate with the country's mayors, one of several attempts by a president often deemed out of touch to connect with local leadership.
Well, to find out more about why France's mayors are so unhappy, I'm joined now by Professor Martial Foucault. You are the Director of the Political Research Centre here at Sciences Po. Thank you very much for speaking to us. You've written extensively about France's mayors. What's your understanding as to why they're so disgruntled?
Les maires de France sont, d'une certaine manière, sont insatisfaits.
The mayors in France are, in a sense, unhappy with the way that Emmanuel Macron has treated them since 2017. An important reform that caused a lot of controversy and frustration was the scrapping of the property tax. So why is that important? Because in the end, he cut off a financial resource for the mayors, which gave them the impression that the state was infringing on their prerogatives. And then the Yellow Vest movement started. And that's when the state realized how important the presence of a mayor was, to be able to communicate with their citizens at a local level. And suddenly Emmanuel Macron changed his policies regarding mayors. They play a critical role as mediators in moments of crisis, like the one France has been experiencing since last November. Today, the mayors are back at the forefront. Emmanuel Macron needs them. And today, there's a window of opportunity for the mayors to remind the government that they need answers and solutions to a number of problems.
What are the authorities doing to boost the morale of France's mayors?
This summer, there'll be debates about a government project to improve two key aspects of the job. The aim is to reassure mayors, make their work easier, and maybe even inspire more people to run for office. The first aspect is what we call the judiciary and penal responsibility. Mayors need to be protected in their work. The other aspect of the reform, which will be an answer to many of their demands, is the re-evaluation of their salaries. At the moment, these are elected officials who are paid very, very little.
What do these mayoral elections tell us about the health of France's main political parties? Are these elections a useful barometer in terms of their results?
You have to be careful. It's not possible to make predictions about the local vote based on the presidential and European elections. The issues at stake are completely different. That said, what's new in this municipal election is that the president's party, La République En Marche, is for the first time entering the race. And there's also the far-right Rassemblement National, which did very well in the European elections, and which is going to continue its strategy, which consists of expanding its reach across the territory and try to win over more towns than in 2014, when 13 RN mayors got elected. And then there's Europe Ecology, the Green Party that's become a key player. Other left-wing parties will have to form coalitions with them. Today, the Green Party can't win a lot of municipalities alone, so they're going to have to build alliances. But what's new about these alliances is that the Green Party is now in the position where it can impose environmental policies as a top priority.
Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, is of course not without her critics. How do you rate her chances of re-election in the spring of next year?
C'est une question très difficile. Peut-être qu'au-delà de Paris, je dirais
That's a very difficult question, but beyond Paris, what I can say is that our study involving 15,000 French citizens revealed that more than 80% of the public feels their mayors have performed well overall. And 60% say they would like them to run again in the next election. Whether this gives any indication about Anne Hidalgo's chances is hard to say, because the competition in Paris is more intense than in other cities. But that does show that today, when you've just completed a mandate, you do hold a real advantage.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Professor Martial Foucault here at Sciences Po, thank you so much. Mayoral terms are 6 years in duration, meaning that for those hoping to be re-elected, they're having to deliver on many of the things they promised they'd do last time around before those elections in the spring. Well, you may have noticed in towns and cities across the country a sharp increase in the number of publicly commissioned building works, repair works, such as these. Well, let's take a look at an example of exactly this in the town of Agen in the southwest of the country.
Agen, a town of 35,000, is not as tranquil as it appears. Construction is underway all over the town. Roads, avenues, and sidewalks. It's enough to get the residents talking.
It's absurd. It's a jungle out there. It's costing millions.
I complain sometimes too, but afterwards you think it's pretty good.
With all the construction comes ribbon cuttings. The mayor has been going to one after the other. You've been cutting a lot of ribbons.
I have cut a lot, and it's good. It means the town is thriving. And we've done it without raising taxes or austerity. It's not bad.
As in many French towns, the frenetic pace of work is about winning over the residents. It's a classic election year phenomenon. The mayor is running for re-election, and he wants to tout his record. But to reap the benefits, the work has to stop before the campaign begins.
In September we'll stop. That's enough, because people don't really like construction. They have short-term negative reactions, allergies and so on. So we've got to be careful.
The mayor calls it the electoral cycle, a political calculation that even the opposition can't criticize.
I'm sure we'd have done it too, but maybe differently. More spread out over time.
Over the last 18 months, Agen has invested 4.7 million euros on public works in the city centre, 23% more than in other years.
Well, that's all we have time for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and see you again soon here on France 24.